Okay, good evening everyone. Today we're going to finish Siman Chav Zayin, chapter 27 of the Iggeres HaKodesh. We're holding on page Kuf Mem Zayin, which is opposite of page 292. A few lines on the bottom of the page where it says Vehine. Where are we holding? So this is part of a letter that actually it's not part of a letter. There is a letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote to the Chassidim following the passing of Rabbi Nachman of Haradak, a condolence letter. So that letter we finished already a little while ago, 2 shiurim ago. But then the Alter Rebbe wrote a beer on that letter, and that's what we're learning right now is the beer on that letter. And page Kuf Mem Zayin, opposite of page 292.
Yeah, but which line?
Vehine.
Vehine, 6 lines in the bottom. But we're not starting it inside. So,
5, 6. I have it.
What we've learned up until now is that the life of a tzaddik is not a gashmistic life. The life of a tzaddik is a ruchnistic life. That life continues. We can connect to the tzaddik even after the passing of a tzaddik. And the truth is that even while the tzaddik is over here in this world, the tzaddik's life is also a ruchnistic life. The story was a famous chassid whose name was Mendel Futterfass, and he was in prison and then sent off to Siberia to a labor camp for the crime of helping many of his fellow chassidim escape Russia. This is in 1946. Thank you very much. 1947, there was a mass escape of chassidim from Russia. This is right after the war, and the Russians, they gave permission that anyone who is a Polish citizen can repatriate, can go back to their country. So many chassidim took advantage of this, and they created false Polish passports, and there were entire trainloads of chassidim that left Russia at that time. Chances are that if you know a Lubavitcher, not a Lubavitcher became a Lubavitcher in the last 40 years, but someone who's a Lubavitcher who's still from Russia, that's when they left Russia. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of Chassidim left at that time. And Remendel was one of the... Remendel was one of the...
Which year was it?
Tafshin Vav, Tafshin Zayin, 1946, 1947. He was one of the chief architects of this plan. And in fact, he was about to leave on one of the trains, and I think
The last train.
I have said this story before. And he actually sent his wife and his children. He sent them on the last train. He was about going to go, and then he realized he can't leave. There's still chassidim that have to, still chassidim that need help. That needs help. Something that's called Mesiras Nefesh. He went back, and he was arrested. Al Kapanim, he ends up in the labor camp, and at a certain point in time, he feels that there are many, many fascinating stories of him in the camps, which he retold afterwards, but one time that he can't anymore. He needs to go into Iggeres by the Rabbi. So, he prepares himself. Now we know Chassidim, but when they go into the Rebbe also, they write a letter, they write an opinion. There is no pen, there is no paper, but in his mind he did all the preparations that he could. He also said once that one of the jobs that there was it had to do with logging and to work on the river. One of the most difficult jobs was, I don't remember the details of the story, but you had to be like standing on a dock or on the river and maneuvering the different logs, and it was a very difficult, maybe even dangerous job, and every once in a while, inevitably, you'd go plunging into the river, which was freezing. This is Siberia. And he said, everyone thought that I was the Nebuchadnezzar, but to me, I love that job, because that means I got to go to mikveh every once in a while. That was what that's what. So, in his mind, he writes a note to the Rebbe, and he's going to the Rebbe, so he walks to the edge of the camp, to the gate. In other words, he's going until he can't go anymore. He gets to the gate, he stops. In his mind, he hands the letter to the Rebbe, and he asks the Rebbe for a bracha. and he felt relieved. He went into Iggeres by there. We're talking about this was the 1940s, so this is still the Friedrich Rebbe, yeah. Anyways, many years later, we're talking about in the 1960s, the early 60s, he finally gets out of Russia and he goes to his wife and children in England. And guess what? He finds over there a letter from the Friedrich Rebbe addressed to him shortly after that date, where the Friedrich Rebbe writes, in response to the letter that you sent me, I'd like to give you, I'm sending you my brachas. So, we have to understand, we look at a Rebbe and we say, a Rebbe, a tzaddik, it's not the physical, it's not the Rebbe's eyes and it's not the Rebbe's ears, it's tzaddik is something which is spiritual. And connection to tzaddik is a spiritual concept. And that's really how we connect to really deeply connect to tzaddik, even while the tzaddik's here in this world, is not a physical connection, it's a spiritual connection. And after the tzaddik's neshama departs the body and goes up, we can continue this connection. The only thing is that we need to we need to focus on the spiritual connection, which is not always easy. They say this joke in the city of Chelm. There was once someone, it's at night and he's walking in the street and he sees someone under one of the street lamps and he's looking for something. He asks him, what are you looking for? He says, I lost my wallet. He says, come, let me help you look. And he helps him for a few minutes and they're looking. And after a few minutes he says, are you sure you lost the wallet over here? He says, no, I lost it down the block. He says, so why are you looking here? Because there it's dark. Over here there's light. Here I can see. When you lose something, you have to look where you lost it, not where it's more convenient to look for it. And the same thing is also when it comes to connection to a tzaddik. So the most convenient thing is, how do I connect to a tzaddik? Is I see the tzaddik. I see the physical body of the tzaddik and I get inspired and I get some lekach, I get some shirayim, I get $1, whatever it may be, and I feel connected. That's the easiest way. But then the tzaddik passes on. And then that avenue isn't available anymore. So you can sit under the light and look from today till tomorrow. In other words, you're looking for your connection to the tzaddik, but it's not there. Now you have no choice. You have to go where it's dark. In other words, you have to go talk into the place where it's more difficult. And you have to connect to the tzaddik in a deeper way, in a more spiritual way. But it's not that the avenue for connection is closed. It's just that the easy way out, which is the physical, is gone. And now we have to connect to the tzaddik by connecting to the reality of what the tzaddik is, the tzaddik's life. Now we have to connect to the tzaddik's emunah. Now we have to connect to the tzaddik's ava. Now we have to connect to the tzaddik's yira. And now the Rebbe also explained that it's not only that we can connect to the tzaddik just as we connected with the tzaddik while he was here in this world. To the contrary, now we can connect in a much deeper and more essential way, as we explained last time, because while the tzaddik is alive, all of his midos are contained and limited by his body. Once the tzaddik passes away, that's finished. It's not anymore limited, and anyone can access the essential midos and the essential identity of the tzaddik. That's what we learned up until this point. Now, today, we're going to move on, and we're going to be talking about a different way, another way in which a tzaddik continues to impact the people down here in this world after his passing. And this way that we're going to be talking about right now is different from what we spoke about up until now in 3 different ways. And I'll tell you right now quickly what those 3 ways are, and then after, as we learn it inside, we'll also spell it out as we go through them. Number 1, the connection to the tzaddik that we spoke about up until this point, which is a connection by connecting to the midos of the tzaddik, and really connecting to the life of the tzaddik, is something which is, and I know some of you might object to the word that I'm saying, is tangible. It's something that we can actually, see, I know in the dance, it's tangible. It's something that we can actually feel in our minds and in our hearts, that connection. The connection that we're going to be talking about right now, or the impact of the tzaddik on those who are here that we're going to be talking about now, is going to be not a tangible one, but an intangible one, or a subconscious one that we can't really put our finger on it. It has an impact, but in a way, you might want to say in a makiftika way, in a transcendent way. That's difference number 1. Difference number 2 is the connection to the tzaddik that we spoke about up until this point is more shaykh to those people who had a relationship with the tzaddik while the tzaddik was down here in this world. The people who did not have a connection to the tzaddik before his histalkus, it's more difficult for them to tap into this, what we spoke about up until now. On the other hand, that which we're going to be talking about until this from now on, there's no difference whether you had a connection with the tzaddik beforehand or not. That's number 2. Number 3 is that what we spoke about until now is a connection to the tzaddik is really a hemshech, a continuation of the connection to the tzaddik while he was alive. So while the tzaddik was alive in a physical body, so we connected to his ruach, but now we can connect to the ruach in an even greater way. So it's expanding upon and amplifying something that already exists. The connection that we're talking about till now, that which we'll be talking about now, is something which only begins after the tzaddik passes away. So again, difference number 1 is that what we spoke about until now was tangible, and now we're going to talk about something which is subconscious. Difference number 2, what we spoke about up until now, is mostly shaykh to people who connected to the tzaddik during his lifetime. Now we're going to be talking about something which it makes no difference. Even those who never connected to the tzaddik during his lifetime can access this in the same way as someone who connected to the tzaddik during his lifetime. And the third difference is that now we're talking about something which is a completely new phenomenon, as opposed to what we're talking about up until now was just a continuation of what the connection to the tzaddik during his life. Okay, let's do this inside. Again, page Kuf Mem Zayin, 6 lines from the bottom where it says Vihine. Vihine yesh oid bechinas ha'arel talmidav. There's another ray that extends to the students of the tzaddik. Another ray of light. Rak only she'eina mislabashas b'toich moicha mamish kor yishreina. This is not something which the students can process in their minds, as is what we spoke about up until now. Up until now we spoke about connecting to the tzaddik's midos, appreciating the tzaddik, and really connecting to the ideas and the ideals and the emotions of the tzaddik. This is different. Rather, what we're going to talk about right now, me'ira aleim il-maila. It's something which it illuminates upon the Talmidim from above, but it's not something which really enters their consciousness. And what is that? And that is when the ruach and the neshama of the tzaddik go up to the source from where they were yun. That's the right word? H-E-W-N, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Right. When they were yun, like an aquari, right? You rocks an aquari.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The hainu. So this is when the ruach and the neshama of the tzaddik go up to their source, the very source from where they emerged from. And what is the source of the ruach and neshama of the tzaddik? The hainu lechakal tapuchin kadishin, and that is the orchard of the holy apples. That is where all neshamas originate from. Do these words ring a bell? Chakal tapuchin kadishin. Sason, yeah. When do we say these words?
Amen.
In the Askinu Sudasas, right? In the Shabbos.
Okay,
Right? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so what is the Alter Rebbe saying over here? Up until now, we've talked about how the Ruach of the Neshama, its primary places in the world of Yetzirah. And the Neshama of the Tzaddik, its primary places in the world of Bria, as we spoke. Now, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, none of those are the source of the Neshama, because those are all already creation. Bria is already something which separated from Hashem, and it's a creation. What is the source? The source of everything is within Elokus, within godliness. Elokus, godliness, is the world of Atzilus. And very specifically, within Atzilus, the mucker of everything, the mucker of Neshamas Yisrael, specifically, is in Malchus of Atzilus. Malchus Atzilus is the mucker of Neshamas Yisrael. If you want to turn for a second to earlier on the Tanya, in Perek, Perek Nun Beis, page 144.
44.
The Makar is that, this sort, we're only 2, 4, 9 lines from the bottom. Makar is that, you see it? Makar is that, this source of everything. Huanikra Alma de Skalia, it's called the Alma de Skalia. This is all a reference to Malchus of Atzilus. Alma de Skalia, it's called the revealed world, it's called Matronisa, it's called Ema Tata, Ushchina. and if you skip a few lines, from this source, from this makar is where everyone and everything receives its energy, its light. And then he continues and says, next line, a malchus is also called Eim Habanim, the mother of the children al derech mashal, the Knesset Yisrael. Why? Shememakar zeh netzlu neshamas natzilus. That is the source from where all the neshamas of Atzilus come from. V'nivru neshamas de Bria, all the neshamas of Bria come from, and all this is Malchus of Atzilus. So Malchus of Atzilus is the source of worlds, and also more specifically of neshamas. So, in addition to the fact that neshamas, when they go up to Gan Eden. Gan Eden is the worlds of Bria and the worlds of Yisera. So apparently we're saying over here, it doesn't specify exactly when and how, but and whether it's every single neshama or is the neshama of the greatest tzaddikim. But the neshama of tzaddikim also, there's a certain aliyah they have, aliyas ruach neshmasei. Whether it's a permanent thing or at times their neshamas go up lemakar chaitzvei, high to their source, and their source is Chakal Tapuchin Kadishin, which is Malchus of Atzilus. Malchus of Atzilus is the orchard of the holy apples. Why is it called the orchard of the holy apples? It's a good question. I don't know. Ask your local Kabbalist. But that's Malchus of Atzilus is called Chakal Tapuchin Kadishin.
Rashbi.
Sorry?
Rashbi.
We're almost there, right? Good. So, what happens? What happens when the neshamas of tzaddikim go up to their source? And Malchus of Atzilus, through that, Nasa Sham Yichud, we have over there a unification. Yichudim is something that we've spoken about many times. We're talking here about that Malchus then becomes united with the levels that are above it, thereby ushering in a flow of energy into Malchus. And where does that come from? Al Yidei Halo Asman, this is through the elevation of the Mayim Nukvim, the female waters, Mekol Masa v'Teirasei v'Avedasei, of all the work of the tzaddik, his Torah, his Avodah, his service, Asher Avad Kol Yimei Chayav, which he worked for his entire life. So this is something also we talked about in the past, the idea of Man and Mad. There's, in Kabbalah talks about Mayim Nukvim, the female waters, and Mayim Dechurin, which is the male waters. Mayim Nukvin is what's also known as Isarusa Dilatata, an awakening from above. We are the female, and Hashem is the male. And the waters that we have is when we have an awakening towards Hashem, an arousal for Hashem, a pleasure in Hashem, and that Mayim Nukvim draws down a reciprocal Mayim Dechurin, the male waters, which is the energy from Hashem into the worlds. So when the neshamas of the tzaddikim, they go up into in Malchus of Atzilus. So because they come with them, they don't come alone. They come with baggage. They come with suitcases. What do they have in their suitcases? They have their Torah. They have their mitzvahs. So that is a Mayim Nukvin. When it comes up to the world of Atzilus, that gives Hashem an incredible pleasure, and that causes a yichud, and suddenly Malchus of Atzilus is filled with light. And that's what he says. V'nizru b'chakal tapuchin kadishin. As a result of that, what we have is sown, planted in this orchard in Malchus. We have very high lights, very much. L'umas tachtoinim, corresponding to that which is down here, which is Asher Heim. What is down here? Teirasei v'avidasei. Okay, so when a tzaddik passes away, the neshama goes up to Malchus da Atzilus, and because the neshama brings up with it all of its avodah, that gives Hashem a tremendous nachas, and that causes yichudim, and that causes a flow of energy in the higher worlds. Va'aras iris el yenim elu, and a ray from these very high lights, me'ira al kol talmidav, it also illuminates upon all the talmidim of the tzaddik. What defines a talmud of the tzaddik? How do you define a talmud of the tzaddik? Shenasu oivdei Hashem al yidei teirasi v'avedasei. Anyone who becomes a servant of Hashem through the Torah and the Avodah of a tzaddik now becomes a beneficiary of these very high oiros, these very high energies which have been unleashed by the tzaddik in the higher worlds. So this is why you understand, this is not limited to people who connected with the tzaddik while the tzaddik was down here in the world. Anyone impacted by the tzaddik, anyone influenced by the teachings of the tzaddik and by the work of the tzaddik to serve Hashem, benefits and receives from this oir.
Goes all the way down to this world.
Yes, yeah. And what does this look like practically? So he says, this light which shines upon them, this is what causes in Talmidim to have thoughts of tshuva and thoughts of doing good things. So, the Talmidim of the Tzaddik, in other words, those who became Oivdi Hashem because of the Tzaddik, after the Tzaddik passes away, the Tzaddik causes a new divine flow which causes them to have a Huri Tshuva. So what do we see from here? Remember, now we can go back and revisit what I said the three differences are. The first difference I said was that that which we spoke about in Tanya before today was a more tangible connection. I can feel it in my heart, I can feel in my mind, my connection to my tzaddik, to my Rebbe, because I'm connecting to the essence of the tzaddik. My middays are becoming the middays of the tzaddik, etc. This is something which is subconscious. We don't feel it. In other words, the only thing we sense are the results of it, which is the hiruri tshuva, that we have the thoughts of tshuva, but we don't actually sense the oir itself. Difference number two is we said also that which we spoke about in Tanya up until today, that was something which is be'ikar shayich to those who are talmidim of the tzaddik. Why? Because there, remember we said, it all depends on the love and the connection. Love and connection is easier for someone who knew the tzaddik during his lifetime to be able to have. But this, on the other hand, has nothing to do with that. It's not about love, it's not about connection. Anyone impacted by the Torah and the Veda of the tzaddik benefits from it. And the third difference also is that which we spoke about beforehand, was talking about connecting to the tzaddik, connecting to the midas of the tzaddik. The midas of the tzaddik were there before he passed away also. They were in a more limited form. But this is something new. This is something which only starts happening after the tzaddik passes away. And all the good deeds that are born because of this light. In other words, when a person has these hiruri tshuva, thoughts of doing tshuva and thoughts of doing good deeds, so any actions that actually happen because of that, these are a result of the lights that were planted in the field, right, in Malchus. Nikra gidulei gidulim. These are called the offspring of the offspring. Meaning the tzaddik goes, so to say, and plants his or her Torah mitzvahs in the Malchus of Atzilus. What grows from that? What is the produce of that? Is the oiris, the lights that come into this world. When I now am a benefit from that oil, from that light, and because of that I do a mitzvah, the mitzvah that I do is the produce of the produce. In other words, the tzaddik planted his mitzvahs in Malchus, the original produce is the light, and that light then produces my mitzvahs. This light that comes from Malchus of Atzilus and comes down to all the people who are impacted by the tzaddik is very hidden. It is like the sun, which even when the sun goes beneath the earth, in other words, when the sun is on the other side, the light of the sun, it lights up the stars. The light of the stars is the light that we have from the sun from beneath. So the same thing is also, the sun is hidden. But when we shine, really where are we shining from? Because of that light that comes from the tzaddik. But the light of the tzaddik is hidden. Just like the sun is hidden, but the light of the stars we see. The same thing is also, we're the stars, but we're just reflecting the light which we get from the tzaddik. And this is as it says in Tikkun Yizayir, Al Moshe Rabbeinu Alav Shalom, it says regarding Moshe Rabbeinu, Sha'achar Petirasei, that after he passes away, Mispashetas Ha'arasei, his light spreads B'chol Dara V'Dara in every generation, L'shishim Riboy Neshamas, to the 600,000 Yidden, the Neshamas of that generation, Kimei Shemesh HaMeir Metachas La'aretz, just like the sun, even when it's under the ground, illuminates L'shishim Riboy Kechavim, the 600,000 stars.
This is what they said, where Moshe Rabbeinu b'chol dor. That's from here.
So how long does it go?
Sorry?
How long does the oil go?
Why not? As long as there are people who are still being, who are still Nasim Oivdei Hashem.
So we learn to connect to Moshe Rabbeinu.
So you're getting, yeah. So with this we've concluded Siman Chav Zayin. In Mirz Hashem, next week we're going to start Siman Chav Ches. Siman Chav Ches is a different letter. Yeah. But Reuven, you're making a face.
What?
You made a face when I said the next week we're going to Siman Chav Ches.
Well, no problem. I was just reading the It's
Ah.
11.
The little one.
Daddy's picking on somebody else for a change.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
I sense some jealousy over here.
No, not jealous.
זה רבי מאיר בעל הנס.
Relief.
Oh,
This is a letter to the Shleivi, looks like, huh?
To who?
The Shleivi?
Yeah.
This is later.
Yeah. But to be like Bohemer is coming up this upcoming week. So I want to tell you a story about the Rebbe, connected a little to Lag Bohemer, somewhat to Lag Bohemer, and also it brings out a little this idea that tzaddikim, there's no such thing that tzaddik is gone, the tzaddik is here, everything continues. So this is a story that was first publicized a few months ago. There's a Chabad presence in JFK Airport.
There is?
Yeah, it's called, I think, Chabad in the Air.
There.
And whenever there's a flight to Israel that's coming or that's going, so they're there, helping people with any of their needs. And very often also they're from obviously not many from people. You see the Chabad, what?
And Minyanim, probably.
No, it's not. They don't have a room. It's like a.
I thought it was a chapel.
No, it's more like a duchen. How do you say?
Stand?
A stand, yeah. For on people.
Not like in Israel. In Israel,
The Fruma people make their own minyanim. They don't need Chabad to make minyanim. It's not. I just saw actually today. I saw that the son of the Getter Rebbe stopped by today or yesterday stopped by the stand, and they gave him the sefer. But many times people come by. Oh, Lubavitch, I have a story to tell you about the Rebbe. It's happened so many times that they realize they should have to have over there
microphone.
a video camera,
Video.
and they whatever.
And
Yeah, good. So a few months ago, this guy goes by, and I have a story to say. So the story it actually went viral, at least in Lubavitch circles, it went viral. I must have gotten the clip like 17 times until I figured, okay, 18th time is the charm, and I finally said, it took a 7-minute video, I listened, I watched it, it was very geschmack. So it's a guy, a Kloisenberger chassid, his name is Chaim Shapiro. He's probably he's probably my age, a little older than me. And the story is as follows. He says that in 1969, so his parents, who were Kloisenberger Chassidim, lived in Eretz Yisrael, and his mother was diagnosed with uterine cancer. And all the doctors they went to, all of them said they have to do surgery and they have to remove the uterus. Removing the uterus, obviously, she's not going to have any children. This is a young couple.
Hysterectomy.
Yeah. They went to the Kloisenberger Rebbe. Kloisenberger Rebbe said, I don't think you need the surgery. Go to America, get other opinions. And while you're there also, why don't you stop by the Lubavitcher Rebbe and get a bracha? So they came to the United States and they went, they knew someone, a Lubavitcher, his name was Herschel Spritzer. And they told him that the situation, and he was like, you know what, actually I have scheduled for tonight a Yechidus for myself with the Rebbe, because getting Yechidus wasn't easy. But you're more urgent, so you take my spot. So they went into the Rebbe, this couple, they go into the Rebbe, they had with them the file, the whole medical file. They come in, and the Rebbe stood up and gave them covered. Wow, such a covered, especially since you were sent by such a chashuv a person. They had no idea. How did the Rebbe know that they were sent by the Kloisenberger Rebbe? How the Rebbe and the Kloisenberger had a very close relationship. But then they came, they said the reason we're here, they put the file down, they told the Rebbe said, I don't understand, I don't need the file. Your Rebbe said that you don't need a surgery, so what's the issue?
Why need the file?
What's the issue? What are you coming and asking? So he says he told the Rebbe, this person, his father, tells the Rebbe, he says, I don't want a bracha. I want a haftacha. That everything will be fine. The Rebbe became serious, and the Rebbe said, Younger man, you have nothing what to worry about. You're going to have children, and einiklach, children and grandchildren, eiskin, batayra, and mitzvahs. Yep. The guy says, obviously everything's fine because I'm here. I was born, right? Mm-hmm. And apparently there was more than one child that was born afterwards, because now the story skips 19 years. That was in 1969. The next part of the story happens in 1988. 1988, Lag Bohemer. And that year, Lag Bohemer was on a Thursday, just like this year. 35 years ago, Lag BaOmer.
It's on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, so it's not like this year. That year was a Thursday. Okay.
Monday night.
You're right. No, you're right. Okay.
Tuesdays before.
Their whole family says, the guy says that me and my parents, my family all came to America because my brother was getting married. So I'm assuming the chasna was on Lag BaOmer. That'll be my guess. And that Thursday night, the Rebbe was in his house then, because in the year of Avelos for the Rebbe's, and
His wife.
most of the time the Rebbe was in his house, davening everything at the house. So the Rebbe was in his house. We went from Ma'ariv to the Rebbe's house, and the Rebbe spoke afterwards. Then the Rebbe gave out dollars. So we went. We stood in line to get dollars. My father goes to the Rebbe. The Rebbe looks at him and says, "How's your wife?" He says, 19 years later. Last time you came, how's your wife? Father was absolutely in shock. Yeah. He said, pointed out, here are the kids who are the miracle kids. He goes on. And then this guy says, I passed by the Rebbe. And he was probably a teenager at that time, right? And the Rebbe says, Chaim. That's his name. Although no one told the Rebbe that was his name. The Rebbe said, Chaim. The pasuk says, Chaim heim l'meitzeim u'lachol b'sarei marpa. Pasuk says, it's regarding Torah, that it's life for those who find it, and it is healing for the flesh. And then the Rebbe says, Nadir atzveita dollar. Here, take a second dollar for Chaim heim l'meitzeim u'lachol b'sarei marpa. He was in shock. He didn't know what to do with this, but okay. That Sunday, they went again for dollars to the Rebbe. He goes by, he says, I go by the Rebbe. And the Rebbe looks at me, and the Rebbe says, Nadir adrite dollar for Chaim heim l'meitzeim echol b'sarei marpa. Here's the third dollar for Chaim heim l'meitzeim echol b'sarei marpa. And then the Rebbe gives him a fourth dollar. Nadir aferte dollar. Here's the fourth dollar for Chaim heim l'meitzeim echol b'sarei marpa. Again, this is a young boy. We're talking about Iggeres, 17, 18, however he was. But go ask, go know. Okay? Gets it. Moved on. That was 1988. He got married a few years later, I think 1994, 1995, he gets married. And he has 4 kids. 4 children. And at a certain point, I don't remember exactly which year it was, I don't remember the chronology, one of his daughters got pneumonia and went into septic shock.
What's that?
Septic shock.
Septic shock.
Which means when the whole system starts shutting down. Infections in the blood, whatever, the whole
blood
system starts shutting down. It was Friday, they rushed her to the hospital. As he was sitting Friday night in the hospital room, and he turned to the Eibush and says, Rebbeinu Shalom, he says, if my daughter recovers, I'm going to dedicate my life to healing Klal Yisrael. A few hours passed. The situation is, the doctors already told them that,
That's it.
That's it.
yeah. And a few hours later, he gets frustrated, turns to Eibush and says, what happened? I told you I made a promise, I'll bring healing I'll dedicate myself. My daughter, the situation is getting worse. The vitals are all... and he falls asleep. And in the sleep, he's in 770.
What?
In his sleep, he has a dream.
A dream that was in 77.
770. And he sees the Rebbe, and the Rebbe tells him, what are you worried about? Don't you remember I told you, Chaim heim l'chol mitzayim l'chol b'sarei marpa. You did a very nice thing in making that achlata. Make sure that you keep it.
It's all in the dream.
In the dream.
What was his achlatu again?
That he would devote his life to healing of Klal Yisrael.
Oh, that was just now.
Yeah.
Not at that time back.
Yeah. He wakes up. He tells his wife everything's going to be fine. He said a dream. The Rebbe told me everything's going to be fine. Why is he crazy? The numbers, the blood pressure, everything is dropping. And he says, Chaim heim l'chol mitzayim l'chol b'sarei marpa. Suddenly, everything started making sense. He says Sunday morning he gets called into the doctor's office. And the doctor says, listen, I want you to know I'm an apikoros.
I'm not what?
I'm an apikoros. I don't believe in anything, but I want you to know that something happened over here, a miracle. The numbers are stabilized, your daughter's going to be fine, and I have no idea how in the world it happened. He ended up starting an organization, I don't remember the name of the organization, which provides medical advice to anyone who wants. There are many different experts in all different fields for people who are seeking medical advice. And on the video, he said that so far, up to date, they've helped more than 27,000 people with medical advice. It's an organization actually so. And he ends off and says, I want you to know that daughter recovered. She married a Lubavitcher, and she's now a shlucha in Alma Ata in Kazakhstan. That girl.
Kazakhstan.
Sorry?
Russia, right?
No, Kazakhstan isn't Kazakhstan.
Where's that?
That's in Russia, isn't it?
Kazakhstan, no?
It's in
Southern
Russia.
Republic.
It's in Russia, isn't it?
No, it's
Part of
not.
Russia,
It's a country. Kazakhstan is a country. It's like saying Ukraine is in Russia.
Yeah, but it's
It's the Southern Republic.
It's of the
Former
it's a
USSR.
former
Yeah,
Soviet-
that's what I said.
Okay.
Former Soviet Union.
Yeah. The claim to fame of Almaty is that the Rebbe's father is buried in Almaty. The Rebbe's father, when
They have Jews
he
still
passed
there?
away, yeah, there's a few shluchim there.
Is the Jewish people still there?
Yeah. The city's called it's on Almaty, I think, and it's there's a large Jewish operation going on over there. Yes. Anyway, story a little connected to Lag Baimer, but also a story which is showing how, it's not as if a tzaddik, he's here, then he's gone. Tzaddikim, their influence continues, their influence extends, and when we connect to the tzaddik, because the tzaddik isn't a gashmius in the first place, tzaddik is ruchnius. Now, as Lubavitchers, obviously, at least I can speak for myself, we're trying to connect, we remain makusher, connected to our Rebbe. So what does it mean to be connected to the Rebbe's midas? Because that's what really Kashrus is. Really Kashrus is when the Rebbe's midas, I connect to them in a very deep way. The Rebbe's midas become my midas, almost like Mahu Rachum, Avata Rachum, Mahu Chanu, Avata Chanu. In this week's parsha, so we have I want to say an iconic sikha, a very famous sikha from the Rebbe. On Parshas Emer, which you might want to say exemplifies the Rebbe in a very powerful way. The Rebbe asks a question. It's a question only the Rebbe asks, and a question that only Chabad Hasidim understand. No one else can make sense of the question. The name of the parsha is Emer. Now that's the name. What is the message in Emer? Didn't we learn in Pirkei Avos Emer Ma'at?
Serbe.
So, what does Emer mean? Emer, speak what?
El Kohanim.
The name of the parsha is not Emer El Kohanim. The name of the parsha is Emer. So all Sikha never talks. Could it mean this? Could it mean Divrei Torah? Sorry?
No, but that's the pasuk.
I said that unless you're Lubavitch, you don't understand the question, because to the Rebbe, the fact that Minig Yisrael is that this is the name, so the name itself has to tell us something, because everything is precise and everything is exact.
How's that different from Dabir?
There is no parsha that's called Dabir.
Yeah, I know.
We do have a parsha called
But
Emer.
they use Emer over here. How's that different?
I don't know. The
Oh, I thought there was some difference.
It's a whole lamdish sikha, and there's the Rebbe brings down the medrash, and I'm not going to get into the whole lamdish of it. The bottom line, the Rebbe says the hira of Emer is, and the Rebbe connects it to with that which the Rambam says. Actually, the Rambam of 2 days ago, Rambam Hilchos is very interesting. The Rambam says talks about the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael. Chayev, every person to love leiv kol echad Yisrael kegufei. Everyone, you have to love every single yid like yourself. Well, lefichach, and therefore. So what does that imply? What is a practical? I have to love every yid. So what does that look like? What does it mean practically? So the Rambam says, lefichach sarich lesaper b'shvachei. We have to speak nice about other yid. That's the number one thing that obviously Yisrael demands is emer, that we always have to be speaking positively and nicely about other yid. And by the Rebbe, the idea of positive in general and avoiding negative language bichlal. We know that something that was by the Rebbe that was to an extreme. How the Rebbe avoided using any words that were negative.
I was by the Rebbe.
Right? The Rebbe didn't say the word ra. It was heipech hatoiv. The Rebbe didn't talk about The opposite of good, the Rebbe would say. The Rebbe wouldn't say,
Right.
the Rebbe wouldn't say death. The Rebbe would say Hepech HaChaim, the opposite of life. I was so careful. I remember what the Rebbe once said. I remember live, sitting by a Sikha, and the Rebbe speaking, and the Rebbe saying that Sibur is a Rosh Tevis of Tzadikim, Beininim, und die, was eine Nirma sind Eis Resh. Tzadikim is Rosh Tevis of Tzadikim, Beininim. Sibur is Rosh Tevis Tzadikim, Beininim, and those who are alluded to in the letter Resh.
What's the
This
Resh?
is Russia.
What's Resh stand for?
See, this is a real Lubavitcher. He doesn't even know what the name stands for.
Russia.
Wow.
Russia, and it's brought down in Sfarim that Sibur is a Rosh Tevis of Tzadikim, Beininim, Mishraim, because the congregation is made up of all types, and the Rebbe couldn't
say
bring himself to say the word Russia.
So what did you say?
Divas and Nirmaz and Eis Resh, those who are alluded to by the letter Resh.
Give you a hint.
It's impossible to listen to the Rebbe and not be aware of just how careful the Rebbe was not to speak negatively, and especially when it comes to another Yid. You know, the Rebbe objected to the term Kiruv Rechoikim even. What Kiruv Rechoikim? No, a Yid is a Rachik. What?
Yeah, how could he be Rachel?
A Yid isn't, could be a Yid is a Rachik. There's no things a Yid is a Rachik. To get Yidden to do more mitzvahs, to learn more Torah, but to call a Yid a Rachik. Who are you? And you're close, and you're saying that he's far. Maybe he's close. Maybe the other way around, right? It's not the. Yeah. And thinking positively about other Yidden, speaking positively about other Yidden. Whenever there is something which is said not about, this week, end of this week's parsha, we have the story about Shleimus Bas Divri. There's a whole sikh from the Rebbe. The Rebbe's like, why is the Torah telling us this? Why would the Torah be speaking negatively about a Yid? Who else asked that question? But the Rebbe says, look in the Gemara Psachim, I feel the Torah doesn't speak negatively even about a treif animal. The Torah should speak negatively about a Yid. So therefore the Rebbe asked the whole sikh explaining, I don't know, the Torah is saying something positive about her.
About her son.
Sorry, what?
It's about her son, not about her.
I understand, but if you look in the Torah,
says that it was her.
She was talking.
Rashi still tells us
but why would
that.
Rashi? Why do we have that? To the Rebbe, the idea of saying something negative about a Yid is so out there, unless there's an important reason, or in this case, the Rebbe explains how actually it's a certain schwach for her, and more than that, the Rebbe says something else. The Rebbe says that the idea of dibur, the idea of speaking, is revelation. Because there's your thoughts and there's your feelings. Now, those aren't revealed, those are inside you. So dibur, what dibur does, the tchuna of dibur is it reveals. And because we are Yidden, and therefore everything we do is impactful, when we speak, not only are we revealing what's going on in ourselves, we are causing revelation. When you speak Lashon Hara about someone, it's not only you're saying a bad thing about him, you're actually revealing it even more. That negative, that character flaw, which is within that person, by you speaking about it, even if the person never knows that you spoke about him, you're harming the person just by the fact that you speak negatively about a person. On the other hand, obviously Yisrael, and therefore, as the Rambam says, Tzarech l'saper b'shvache, when you speak positively about another Yid, you're being megala, the good and the potential within that person. The importance of speaking positively about another Yid. And in general, that comes from looking at Yidden with a... Looking at Yidden, what?
With the Ayin Tova.
With the Ayin Tova, with a positive eye, with the right eye, and then automatically we look at Yid with a positive eye, and we speak positively about him. Think about it for a second. Do we speak negatively about our own children?
Nope.
Why?
Our children.
Because we love them. That's what the Rambam says. You have to love every single Yid, and therefore, you speak good. About our children, we speak good. We see the good. We speak the good. And it's not only... And actually, you have to realize that it has an impact on the person. And by the way, the same logic also applies to ourselves. We know, famously, we're not supposed to speak Lashon Hara about ourselves also. Sometimes people wrote letters to the Rebbe, They wrote negative on themselves, never wrote back scathing letters. Don't you know? You're not supposed to talk Lashon Hara about yourself. When you speak, you're revealing. You're speaking negative about yourself, you're actually revealing that within yourself also. So, when we talk about hiskashrus to the Rebbe, so one way of hiskashrus is to say, okay, so, get $1 from the Rebbe, or a face, see the Rebbe by Fabringen. But what is really the deepest level of hiskashrus that a chassid can have? Is, as we mentioned, there is the Rebbe's life is the Rebbe's midas, right? The Rebbe's ava, the Rebbe's yira, the Rebbe's munah. And when I connect to that, and I have the same midas, and I'm in the same way, so then what I am doing actually right now is that is the deepest connection possible that I can have with the Rebbe. And this obviously also connects to Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer, because we know that what happened Lag BaOmer is that there was the 24,000 students who Rabbi Kiva who passed away, and that's also all connected to obviously. So the reason why that they passed away is because they nago kavod zebazah. They didn't have appropriate respect for each other. So this is a sign mitzad the time that we're in, sign mitzad Lag BaOmer, and sign mitzad the parsha, and also with this to conclude, Siman Chav Zayin Iggeres HaKodesh is this idea of real connection to tzaddik, identifying what are the midas of the tzaddik, and living in a way which is the same way. That's the ultimate nafshay kshura benafshay, is when the Rebbe or the tzaddik is alive within you and your midas also. That is the simon. Next week we'll start in Mitzvah Siman Chav Ches. Siman Chav Ches, as mentioned, is a letter, another condolence letter. It's a letter that the Alter Rebbe sent to Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev after the passing of his son. And next week we will start the conversation with a little more detailed about the relationship between the Alter Rebbe and Yitzchak Berditchev, who the son was, what the connection was, when this letter was written. We'll do that in next week.
This was the letter because of Rahman Rodevska, right? That was the Diaz because of Makashazan for even when he's not here.
Yeah, that was the letter we just did. The next letter is a totally different letter. The next letter, Siman Chav Ches, is not going to be about hiskashrus. The next letter is going to be telling us about the significance of the moment of the passing of a tzaddik, which then obviously also repeats itself every year on the yard site. But what happens when a tzaddik passes away? That's what we'll be talking about in Mitzvah next week.